YouTube is filled with videos such as the 10 things poor people do that the rich don't, or 15 things that rich people do that the poor don't, or something along these lines. Many of them are quite interesting and are fun to watch, but they don't really explain the difference. Do you really think that the difference between the rich and the poor is that poor people watch the TV while the poor don't or rich people shower more often compared to the poor? Neither do I. If you suddenly start showering more often or watching less TV, you are not going to get rich because the real difference is the mentality in the way they play the game of the money. And in this video, we are going to take a look at the 8 things that the poor people do that are keep them poor. Number 1, poor people play defense. If you were to play any game strictly to defense, what are the chances of the winning this game? Extremely low or none, right? And yet most people playing the game of money exactly like that. Their primary goal is not to win or to be at the top, but rather not to lose. They just wanted to play all the bills and stay out of the debt. The problem with this strategy is that when your goal is too simply to be above the water, that's maximum what you will get. Of course, some people are a little better than that. They save 10% of their income, invest in the stock market, and just hope that the stock market doesn't collapse, so that when they get old, they will have something to rely on. But until then, they will be locked into the comfort zone of the small paycheck. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that, but if your goal is to simply pay the bills, you will just stay whether you are. If you want to create the real wealth, you should stop playing defense and start playing offense and shoot for the stars. As a wise man once said, if you shoot for the stars, you at least hit the moon. Next, poor people do not value freedom. When I say freedom, I do not mean living in the democracy or not. Freedom means living in life that you want, and not one that someone else wants you to live. Doing what you want. How do you, how you want and where you want. That's why you find a lot of the people say money isn't important, don't make your life all about money. Or the most famous of them, money is the root for all evils. And yet you find those people working all of their lives from the morning to evening for the some pennies just to keep the collectors away from their house, doing the job that they wish they can quiet, not only because they hate the job, but they also probably hate their bosses. And if they had the opportunity, they would quit that job. That's why money equals freedoms. So, how do you expect yourself to change to chase money? If you look at it as the something negative, rich people keep getting richer because it gives them more and more freedom and do with their lives what they want. Number 3, poor people work hard for their money. It sounds a bit controversial. Aren't you supposed to work hard for the money? Let me explain. What do most people do if they want to make more money? They work harder and get promoted, and if that's not enough, they might consider working overtime or getting a second job. The problem with this is that no matter how much you are paid, at the end of the day, your time is limited. Rich people perfectly understand that, so instead of the working hard for their money, they let their money work hard for them. They look at money as a tool that can earn them even more money, and not simply of the piece of the paper they can use to buy that. Then they want, like most people, threat money. Of course, first people will have to work hard for the money, but it's temporary. For the rich, while it's permanent for the poor. Once you make enough, when your money you can replace you will have more freedoms. Number 4, people poor focus on the obstacles. One of my friends want to start the chain of restaurants. In fact, he has been telling me that for the last 3 or 4 years, but every time I ask him where he hasn't started yet, he typically responds, "I don't have the money and I don't want to get into the debt." And that's the problem. Poor people are constantly looking for something to go wrong. In these 4 years, he could have found investors or at least saved up enough to start. He hasn't even studied the market. He doesn't even have the plan. So believe that if he gets the money, the rest will somehow magically happen. But what will end up happening is that he will just come across another obstacles. It doesn't matter what business you want to get in. There will always be obstacles. There are millions of things that could go wrong. And if you are like my friends who isn't doing anything but complaining how difficult it is, you are probably in the same dark financial positions that he is. Some people are even on the different level, even if they have the money and all the essential. They will say things such as, "What if it doesn't work? What if people are going to know that I have failed? For God's sakes, no one cares about that." 5. Poor people choose to be paid based on the time. How often do you hear people say, "I deserve to be paid $50 an hour or $60? I have a dream from such and such school. I work harder than any else. I am smarter or more talented." You know what? No one gives a damn. Would you watch this video because I have spent so hour creating it? What matters is the end of the day is how much value you can deliver. You might be working harder than the Jeff Bezos, but Bezos will make $4.5 million an hour, and you won't, because while you're complaining, his company is providing value to the millions of the people all around the globe. 6. Poor people resent rich and successful people. The other day, I was watching an interview with the successful and the quite famous entrepreneur. Then I scrolled down to read some of the comments, and a lot of the people were like, "This douchebag doesn't deserve to be on this channel. He is the scumbag." And it really freaked me out. The guy worked hard to be on that positions, even if he has inherited some of his wealth. He is probably much more disciplined than you. Some people seems to have some kind of the moral obligations to hate the top 1% or certain rich families. Here is a life hack. Instead of having them, how about you join them? Poor people think they know everything. This is the most ridiculous one. What do people do when they face financial problems? They complain about it. They are the bazillion numbers of the reasons you can blame, starting from the politicians that run the country and ending with your boss. But you tell him to pick up the book and learn even the basics of money management. He will tell you, this is my money and I know how to take care of it. Well, if you have figured everything out, why on earth you are always broke? And then they will give you even more excuses. And it's not only about the money, but everything else. Haven't you realized when people get into the argument, they try to prove that they are right, even if they are not, instead of trying to learn? And to be honest, I have had this mentality back when I was a teenager. I was quite stubborn. But then I realized that if I keep going like this, I'm never going to grow. So I stopped acting like I know everything, and started paying attention to my flaws and how I can fix them. 8. Poor people mismanage their money. Knowing how to manage money isn't something you are born with, but rather you have to learn. Just because you are making money doesn't mean you know how to manage it properly. People think that if they start managing their money, it will restrict their freedom. They don't want to stick to a certain budget or think hard before buying something. They finally got to paycheck and they want to enjoy it. But the truth is, if you don't manage your money, you will never achieve financial independence. And that short-term feeling of the mindless satisfactions isn't real freedom. And secondly, people think that you need to make a lot of the money to manage it. Trust me, it gets way more difficult than you think. And if you can't even handle your paycheck properly, do you think you can manage 10 times that amount? By now, you probably have already realized that what makes poor people really poor is the poor mentality, and not having money is one of the consequences of that. The good news is that you can change your mentality. That doesn't mean the next day you will be sitting on the pile of cash. No, but slowly you will start looking at things differently, and you will start thinking differently, and instead of complaining, you will start taking advantage of all the opportunities that you are coming across, and over time you will improve your financial situations. A wise man once said, the best way to help the poor is not to become one of them. This video is based on the books Shared of the Million's Mind by Howard Eckert. It's an amazing book. I would recommend anyone as the usual. I will learn the Amazon link in the descriptions, as well as a link to Audible, where you can get the audiobook for free. Thanks for watching.